Former President Yoon Suk-yeol enraged by death penalty request and coup allegations on Channel ESQ. The story begins with an atmosphere of extreme tension as former President Yoon Suk-yeol faces a death penalty request from the prosecution regarding allegations of insurrection. In his final argument, he could not hide his fury and reacted vehemently against accusations he deemed absurd. He asserted that ordering someone's arrest or dragging someone down from their position are acts that only crazy people would do, emphasizing again that these were the words of madmen. This strong reaction indicates that Mr. Yoon feels deeply insulted by the interpretations of his motives. He continued to ask sarcastically whether leading police officers and night-duty military staff to perform tasks could be called a self-coup pro-regime coup. He compared this reality to movies about coups where everything is meticulously prepared and planned over a long period, whereas he only went with a small number of people and never had the intent or execution of any coup. Yoon Suk-yeol continued to argue that he does not even understand what the content of a so-called self-coup is. He counter-questioned why he would go to the National Election Commission NEC if he wanted a coup when there was no election taking place at the time. His visit was not to seize power or disrupt national order, but to seek evidence of election fraud in order to consolidate national discipline. This detail shows Yoon believes his actions were to protect the Constitution, not destroy it. The video then switches to a direct recording of Yoon Suk-yeol's voice to clearly demonstrate this frustration. In the tape, Yoon states that ordering the arrest of party members or National Assembly members is unimaginable, and only a crazy person would say such things. He asked himself what basis he would have to request the police or military to do such absurd things, even though he appoints ministers or vice ministers. That does not mean he can arbitrarily order arrests, nor would he know what to do next after arresting them. Yoon continued to cite images from movies about old military regimes for comparison, asking everyone if they had ever seen a self-coup conducted the way he did. He argued that no one stages a coup by announcing it publicly on television and then mobilizing only a small group of night shift staff without prior preparation. He re-emphasized the absurdity of going to the National Election Commission because if one wanted a coup, they must seize control of the situation first and go there later, or there would be no need to go at all when there is no election. He affirmed that the security check at the Election Commission was to improve the fairness of the system and enhance public trust in constitutional institutions, thereby protecting the Constitution rather than causing chaos. He urged everyone to think with common sense, calling the accusations against him delusional, and expressing his belief that all those citizens are busy making a living. They are not fools, and they all understand the truth. The narrator then continued the analysis, stating that the people are not naive and understand that Yoon declaring martial law was not a self-coup. Yoon explained that he did so to stop the tyranny of the Democratic Party and to inform the public of the situation via television broadcasts at night. His martial law was described as completely different from what occurred in movies like May 18th or 12th.12, The Day Seoul Spring, where tanks and paratroopers appeared. Yoon explained this himself without a prepared script, in an agitated tone. He argued that his action was a form of soft martial law intended only to inform the nation, carried out without live ammunition or armored vehicles, and thus cannot be considered a coup. He also refuted the arguments of the Special Task Force and the Democratic Party that he wanted to seize long-term power. He challenged them to provide evidence, stating that if he really wanted to monopolize power, he would not have been so easily suppressed. He argued that if one wants martial law to seize power, they must prepare thoroughly with massive military force and execute it at dawn or on weekends, not on a weekday evening so all citizens would know. While Yoon smirked sarcastically upon hearing the death penalty recommendation because he considered it too absurd, his attitude hardened and his face tensed up when he heard the court sentence him to 5 years in prison for obstruction of official duties and abuse of power the previous day. This change in expression shows he regards the danger of actual legal rulings more seriously than exaggerated threats. While Yoon is fighting a lonely battle, a group of university students from the Liberty University organization issued an emergency statement supporting him. They asserted that there was no justice in this verdict and that executing the duty of protecting the president, as well as the president's constitutional powers, had become objects of criminal punishment. The student group criticized the court for recognizing the abuse of warrant issuance when using a warrant that had been rejected by the Seoul Central District Court but reissued by the Western District Court. They argued that the court denied the legitimacy of the process even though the legality of martial law had been confirmed, ignoring the urgency of national security. Surprisingly, instead of protesting as in the past, these students viewed Yoon's martial law action as a decision to save the country. They declared that South Korea has fallen into a state where verdicts are delivered based on political interests rather than order and justice. They pointed out the contradiction when, within the same Seoul Central District Court, one judge ruled that the Corruption Investigation Office, CIO, had no investigative power, while Judge Baek Dae-hyun recognized that power. The Liberty University organization asked whether this is a fair judgment based on conscience and law, or if the rule of law has turned into the rule of politics. The story ends with a call for citizens to stand up and protect Yoon Suk-yeol as a final fortress against the attacks of political forces trying to label him with insurrection and pass special laws to destroy their opponents. Based on the tense developments in court and the unexpected emergence of support from students, I predict that in the coming time, Yoon Suk-yeol's legal battle will move to a new, fiercer stage in the high courts. The fact that Yoon laughed off the death penalty but was tense regarding the 5-year prison sentence suggests he will focus his appeal strongly on the abuse of power charges, as these are more factually convictable than the difficult-to-prove insurrection charge. The vocal support of the Liberty University group could be the start of a new social movement where conservatives and young people disillusioned with current politics take to the streets to create public pressure counterbalancing the Democratic Party. However, the opposition will not sit idle. They will accelerate special investigations, exploiting contradictions in the judicial system to isolate Yoon. This confrontation will cause South Korean society to be even more deeply divided between two streams of thought, protecting the rule of law versus political punishment. This story is not just a legal news report, but a warning bell about the fragile line between law enforcement and political purging. It raises a major question about judicial independence when verdicts are contradictory and suspected of serving factional purposes. What do you think about Mr. Yoon's reaction and the unexpected support from the students? Is this a sign of a shift in public opinion? Please leave a comment below for us to discuss. And don't forget to follow Channel ESQ Andre to update on the next shocking developments.